Welcome to the Capitol News. I am your host, Alex Karitis. Thanks so much for joining me. Today is Monday, March 4th, 2019. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you all enjoyed your weekend. So what do we have on the docket for today? Well, you guessed it. We couldn't go too much further without some sort of Trump derangement syndrome popping its head again, and that's exactly what we have today on this Monday when we have, it's the same group of people, naturally, same group of people. Congressman Jerry Nadler, Adam Schiff, Impeach 45 Maxine Waters, and the list goes on and on. But this time, front and center, it's Jerry Nadler's turn, the House Judiciary Committee chairman. Well, what does he want to do now? Well, he revealed today that his committee has requested documents from 81 entities and individuals from the White House to Donald Trump Jr. and Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg. Now, if you remember that name, Alan Weisselberg, that was during Michael Cohen's testimony. Alan Weisselberg has been with Donald Trump for years. He's the CFO of the Trump Organization. He definitely knows a lot of stuff. But that's where that name comes up. But there's 81 entities that Nadler wants to go after. Let me just read off a handful of these names because you're going to be familiar with some of them. And this is just going to get to the further insanity of what's going on here. So one of them is Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica was dealing with all of the data. Remember, they're the data group. There was some funny business that might have been going on with Facebook and getting involved with the campaign of 2016. Were they fixing data? What were they doing? How were they giving Trump inside information? What was going on here? You have Carter Page, who was allegedly the linchpin of all of this Trump-Russia collusion, yet this guy has been on CNN and MSNBC since day one. He has not been prosecuted. He has not been convicted. He's just on the media, telling his story all the time. So why Carter Page is of any import is beyond me, because the man has simply been on the news. Hasn't been testifying, hasn't been convicted, nothing. So where does this guy come from? But nevertheless, they want more documents from Carter Page. You have Corey Lewandowski, Donald Trump's former campaign manager. You got David Pecker. You got the Department of Justice. You have Don McCann, who was President Trump's former attorney in the White House. You have Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr. You have the FBI. The FBI has to submit documents. You have George Papadopoulos. You would think George Papadopoulos was the ringleader of all of this stuff. He was a low-level advisor to the campaign on what? Energy policy? You got to be kidding me. This guy was prosecuted for a process crime. He lied to the FBI. He was convicted, and he served, I think, 14 days in jail. What the hell information is he going to present to the House Judiciary Committee? What is Jerry Nadler and all of these other Democrats going to find that the FBI didn't find, that the Mueller investigation didn't find, and that every other reporter under the sun who's trying to make their name investigating Trump collusion, what are they going to find? What are they going to find? This has to be a sickness. It is Trump derangement syndrome. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. George Papadopoulos, are you freaking kidding me? Hope Hicks, President Trump's former communications director. Jared Kushner, his son-in-law. Jay Sekulow, his current attorney. Jeff Sessions, Jerome Corsi, Julian Assange, Roger Stone. The list goes on and on and on. If you look deep enough, you'll probably find your name on there. If you ever attended a campaign rally, shook the man's hand, was standing next to him, and you took your picture with him, your name's probably on this list. If I look hard enough, my name's probably on the list, and I never met the man. This is just getting to a boil. It's just getting to a boil. It is a complete three-ring circus. And this is now just the House Judiciary Committee. They are hedging their bets because they know the Mueller report is coming out sooner rather than later. I am speculating that it's going to be some point this month. I obviously have no insider information as to whether or not that's going to be the case. I just am guessing because we were told back at the end of January that it would be wrapping up soon. And how much longer can it really be? You've had people leaving the Mueller investigation team, which signals that it is coming to an end. You have Bill Barr in there as the Attorney General now. He should be getting things in order, getting this report ready and finalized. And of course, according to the Democrats, if the whole report in its entirety is not disclosed to the American people, well, then we can't trust it. And, well, we're just going to have to continue doing one investigation after the other. That's their whole plan here, ladies and gentlemen. It's plain as day. It's to distract you and go from one committee to the next. If it's not Jerry Nadler in the House Judiciary Committee, then it's going to be Adam Schiff with the Senate, with the House Intelligence Committee. Or it's going to be Maxine Waters with oversight, Elijah Cummings with oversight, Maxine Waters with financial services. It's just one after the next. It is not going to end unless and until Donald Trump drops the hammer and says enough is enough and declassifies information. Because I don't know how Bob Mueller, who is, you would think, is dealing with classified information, at least a little bit, is going to have redacted parts of his report. So are the Democrats going to use that as an excuse to say, well, we don't know what's behind those redactions, therefore we have to continue to investigate the president? How much more are they going to do? How much further is this going to go? There's no end in sight, unless and until the president does just that. Or perhaps there's a bombshell out of the Inspector General's report. When's that coming? Well, it should be soon, too. Is this going to be March Madness? Is this all going to come out in March? I don't know, but it's probably going to be this month or next. I just can't see this stuff dragging out much further. Especially because, to me, you got to read between the lines. You got to start connecting the dots. And with the Democrats starting to up the pressure and sort of just throw everything at the wall, see what sticks, is telling me that this Bob Mueller investigation is wrapping up and that it's going to be a huge, juicy nothing burger. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. If there was, something probably would have leaked. If there was something else, a reporter definitely would have tried to make his or her name and printed it coast to coast. We'd be talking about it nonstop. I gave my podcast yesterday in regards to the Clinton Foundation investigation. Where's that? Where's that? It's in some drawer somewhere. Nobody's paying attention. Who cares? Why would you care that that's a fraudulent organization? Why would you care that the people who have been surrounded around President Trump have been tried and convicted for the same things that the Clinton Foundation is very likely guilty of? So where's the justice? Is there an investigation going on? If you listen to my podcast, there probably is. If you went one step further and checked out that YouTube video of that testimony of those financial investigators who looked into the Clinton Foundation, well, then I think you probably lean towards, yeah, there is an investigation going on. And I hope there is. I hope there is. For anybody who is breaking the law. And especially these people who are abusing their position and their power. That's what gets me. And again, if Bill and Hillary Clinton wanted to get into business for profit, I'd wish them well. Go ahead, do the best thing you can do. Why they always have to straddle the line of legality and illegality is beyond me. But that's what they do, and I think they're finally going to get caught. Does the government have the cojones to do what they got to do and try them? That's the question that we're all waiting to see what happens. Now, the other interesting thing with Jerry Nadler, of course, is the hypocrisy, which is rampant in Washington, D.C. It's on both sides, but right now you just have it being screamed from the rooftops from the Democrats, but they couldn't care less. Again, they don't care if they are called hypocrites. The ends justify the means. They do what they got to do. You want to call me a liar? Call me a liar. You want to call me a hypocrite? Call me a hypocrite. But guess what? I don't care because I have an agenda. And whatever I do is going to be right. So I'm just going to stick with it. And they stick together. They always stick together. It's amazing. So, but what is one of these points where Jerry Nadler was a hypocrite? Well, he wanted James Comey, the former FBI director, fired. Yeah, he wanted him fired. Why did he want him fired? Well, he wanted him fired just about like everybody else in Congress and really the country. Because you were either really going hard for Hillary Clinton or you were really going hard for candidate Trump, and you just didn't like that whole debacle where Jim Comey comes out and says she's guilty of XYZ. He threw the book at her, but we're not going to prosecute because there's just simply no reasonable prosecutor that exists, or unreasonable. Unreasonable. We have no unreasonable prosecutors here, and that's the way he sort of danced around it, because he says no reasonable prosecutor would bring charges after he just goes through the whole list of things that she's guilty of. So he was clever in how he did it. And of course, it pissed the Trump supporters off. It obviously made the Clinton supporters very happy and said, look, we told you she was not guilty of any of this stuff. There was nothing to see here. Look the other way. And then, of course, Comey comes out only a few weeks later because of Anthony Weiner. Well, there might be some classified emails on his computer. We have to do a further investigation. So everybody's waiting on the edge of their seats. What are they going to find? Then he comes out. Well, we didn't find anything. She's clean and clear again. So with all of this drama, everybody wanted James Comey fired. Jerry Nadler was no exception. He was calling for then President Obama to fire him. Now President Trump becomes the president, and he fires Jim Comey. And now, all of a sudden, that's obstruction of justice. That's obstruction of justice, according to Jerry Nadler. Of course, it isn't, because the president has the right to fire the FBI director for cause or for no cause. He can do it. Now, is that a common practice? No, it's not. It's not a common practice. The FBI director serves a 10-year term that is set up on purpose because you want to try to avoid any type of political improprieties going on, any funny business going on, sort of stay above the fray of politics. He's there for 10 years. A president can only be there for 8. So that's what it's there for. It's there to keep the FBI above all of the politics. Of course, as soon as Comey came out and made a decision that the DOJ was supposed to make, all bets were off. All bets were off. And Republicans wanted him fired. Democrats wanted him fired. But he was not fired until President Trump did so. So that's where we stand. Jerry Nadler wanted him fired. Wanted President Obama to fire him. He didn't. Trump does it. It's obstruction of justice. We need to investigate him every which way. 10 ways to Sunday. Whatever we find is going to be evidence against the man to impeach him. And then we're just going to kick him out of office. That's what they want to do. And it's all a distraction. It is all a distraction. I wish I was making this stuff up. I really do. But I can't, because it's in our face 24/7. And it's only going to get worse. Believe me, it is only going to get worse. Because the Mueller report will prove to be nothing. And then these Democrats are going to scramble and run around like chickens with their heads cut off. And every committee is going to want documents. They're going to have closed-door hearings. They'll have public hearings. They'll make the Michael Cohen three-ring circus look like child's play if they have their way. Believe you me. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. None whatsoever. They want to see this president swinging from the tree. They really do politically. They hate the man. I've never seen this in my entire life. I'm telling you, Trump derangement syndrome is a serious condition. And it is infecting a lot of people. And it seems to be contagious. So watch out. Now, moving on to some weekend news. We had CPAC on Saturday. And the president showed up and gave what turned out to be his longest speech, quasi rally. I think it was over 2 hours long, and I did watch some of it, not all of it, but most of it. And he was definitely in his element, definitely in front of a room full of supporters. And I think it was really rejuvenating for him, because this did just follow the summit he had with Kim Jong-un in Hanoi, Vietnam. So I think it was uplifting to be in front of a whole bunch of supporters and sort of just go through as many topics as he covered, which was pretty much everything A to Z. He did go over, obviously, his discussions with Kim Jong-un, playing it off as a success that it was. And overall, it was a success in the fact that they are keeping the lines of communication open. I did call it a dud because, well, I mean, if the goal was denuclearization, there wasn't denuclearization. So from that perspective, it was a dud. But like I've always been saying, it's better to keep the lines of communication open, and that's exactly what those two world leaders are doing. And hopefully there are more talks in the future, and hopefully sooner rather than later. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on those talks if something comes of it. But as of right now, it's just going to keep on going, and hopefully it goes in the right direction. President Trump also talked on the Green Deal, the Great Green New Deal, and it was kind of funny because obviously it is a joke. It is a joke on the surface. It is a joke in the details and in the fine print. Again, how these people come up with this stuff. We're going to get rid of airplanes. We're going to get rid of oil and gas and everything else. You can't fly anywhere. We're just going to build a train. Oh, my God. I can't even believe I'm saying this. This is 2019, and this is what people want to do. They want to build a train all over the oceans, from here to Hawaii, I guess all over the place. I mean you got to go to Australia, you're going to have to take a train. Want to go to Beijing, Hong Kong, Tokyo? Get on the train. Midnight trains are coming. Get Gladys Knight and the Pips. I mean, this is out of control. These people are nuts, and they have control of our tax dollars. And they were concerned about President Trump having the nuclear codes. These are the people you got to worry about. I can't make this up. I cannot make this up. And President Trump was obviously himself, and he was cracking jokes about it. And then he sort of came to the idea at the end of his little spiel about it was, well, you know what? Actually, it's a great idea. It's a great idea. I think the Democrats should embrace this 100%. Lock, stock, and barrel. The whole thing. The whole thing. It's a great idea for the Democrats to run on. And believe you me, that there's going to be a lot of Democrats are already on board with it. The question becomes, what of the 2020 presidential campaign candidates? How fully are they going to embrace it? Because, again, they're going to have to outdo each other. They're going to have to outdo each other. AOC is the boss. She says so herself. She's the boss. So you got to listen to the boss. So they're going to have to embrace it. Somebody's going to embrace it. Somebody might even go further. Because you got the lunatic fringe taking control of the mainstream here, if there even is a mainstream in the Democrat Party anymore. I don't know. I don't see too many people in the mainstream that make any sense, that are really bringing all of these crazy ideas to heel, pulling them back, saying, let's be realistic about this. Let's look at some of the finer points, something that actually makes sense, and build upon that. Let's not go crazy. Let's not go on some Twitter rant that never ends and just continues to show how these people don't have any idea of what the hell they're talking about. None whatsoever. I just saw on the news today that the former Greenpeace president out of Canada was slamming AOC, saying she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. I mean, that's pretty bad when you have somebody from Greenpeace. I mean, this is not a conservative movement by any stretch of the imagination, and they're calling out AOC on the Green New Deal. And he made a very good point, because what the Democrats are now doing, again, they are shameless. They don't care. They're using children now. Let's educate and indoctrinate the children that it's going to be the end of the world in 10 years. 10 years. Or is it 12? I don't know. What's the difference? It's coming to an end within 10, 12 years' time. I mean, what a great story to tell our children. What a great story. Of course, it's not true, but let's just tell them anyway. Get them all worked up. They have, and this is nothing against children, they don't have any skill set to know what to do on how to solve these problems from any great standpoint. They don't pay any bills. They're not responsible for anything. They get up, they go to school, they do their homework, play an instrument, play a sport, go to bed, get up, do the same thing again. They're supposed to enjoy their childhood, and this woman wants to go out there and scare the hell out of them. Well, if we don't get rid of airplanes and cars and all of this other crap, oh, we're done. 12 years. 12 years. It's over. Don't even waste your time. And then, of course, she doesn't care what the cost is. Just print the money. You know, the Greenpeace president likened it to child abuse. And in a way, it is. That's traumatizing. But they don't care. Because the ends justifies the means. Period. End of story. Now, one of the other things that President Trump was sort of cracking a joke about, and this is something I've been telling you guys for quite a while now, he destroyed Pocahontas. He destroyed Senator Elizabeth Warren. And he's like, yeah, you know, it's kind of funny that I did that and all, but now this woman doesn't stand a chance. And it would have been so much fun to go up against her head-to-head in a presidential campaign. So he caught himself, and he's absolutely right. He destroyed her out of the gate. I mean, she destroyed herself, but he just, you know, he knew what to say and how to do it. He's very good at that. So now she's done, which I've said, he said, everybody knows it, if you're really serious. She's does not stand a chance. And now he was joking, I got to stand off, I got to step back a little bit and not mess with all these people, because if I destroy everybody, there's a chance that there might actually be somebody good who I have to run against, and that'll be tougher. Of course, I don't think it's going to be any issue regardless. I think he's going to win 2020 because this is just the lunatic fringe. It's Trump derangement syndrome. That is on autopilot. It's just going to get worse. We cannot have a socialist government. And in some form or another, to get the nomination on the Democrat Party, they are going to have to show that they are at least open to some form of socialism. It's just a fact of the matter. Just a fact of the matter. Now, could they be lying just to get the votes? Of course they could be. They're politicians. That's, you know, that's par for the course. There's no surprise if that should be the case, but they are definitely going to say it, and that'll be used against them, and rightly so. And rightly so. In this country, despite what you might see in the media and the support that some of these lunatics are getting, it's small, it's marginal, believe me. This country, not only is it not ready for a socialist, it doesn't want a socialist. You got a few nut jobs running around, of course you do. You got 300 and some million people, there's going to be a few screws loose somewhere. And, you know, then you got the mouthpiece of Crazy Bernie. Some people, it's just going to resonate with some people. It's just the fact of the matter. What's scary and what's shameful is the fact that the mainstream media focuses so much attention on it and gives it a bigger voice than what it otherwise would have. That's a problem. That's you know, I get the point. You got to, you know, report the news, but there's, you know, take it into consideration, the size and scope of everything. Because in my opinion, it's not nearly as big as what you think it is based off of what the media shows us every day. And lastly, one of the things that Trump said and concerns me is his discussion on the Federal Reserve and wanting a weaker U.S. dollar. I don't get this one. I understand where he's coming from the perspective of trade. If you have a weaker currency relative to other global currencies, it makes your exports more attractive because it's more affordable in foreign dollars, foreign currencies. But what about you, ladies and gentlemen? Do you want a weaker currency? Because a weaker dollar just simply means you have to use more dollars to buy the same amount of stuff that you already buy. That's not good. That affects your cost of living. Not good. Not good. So why does he want a weaker dollar? Is that what he's really calling for? Is he trying to box in the Federal Reserve again like he did late last year? Telling them to stop with the quantitative tightening, keep the pedal to the metal on printing money and on low interest rates, because that's exactly what they did for President Obama. So why take away the punch bowl for me now that I'm president? Which is a valid argument from one standpoint. It's not a solid argument, but it does make a point. But I just don't get it. I mean, nobody is more against the Federal Reserve than me. I want them abolished. I want them gone. I want the income tax abolished. I want you to have as much money in your pocket as possible. You work for it, you should get to keep it. But I don't understand why the president is saying that the Federal Reserve wants a strong dollar when nothing could be further from the truth. The Federal Reserve has done nothing but destroyed our purchasing power. A weaker dollar is only going to make everything more expensive for you to purchase. So I don't get that one. But I'm going to stay up on that to see if he starts tweeting more about this, if this was just something that he was saying off the cuff during this rally. And I don't know why the people were cheering. I mean, I guess you're just caught up in the moment. You're there. Everybody's, well, okay, that's what the president says. That's who we support. And they're applauding. Maybe when they got in the car, they looked at each other and said, honey, we applauded that, but I don't think that was a good idea. Because it isn't. It isn't. So I'm going to stay updated on that because that's not good policy. It's just not good policy. We need a stronger dollar. Increase your purchasing power. That's what you want. That's what you work for. You want your dollar to go as far as possible. And the only way that that's going to happen is if you have a strong dollar, or better chances that that's going to be a case if you have a stronger dollar. Because the funny thing is, he always wants to say that China is a currency manipulator. Well, what is he saying? We should manipulate ours? So, I have a hard time saying that type of stuff. President Trump most definitely does not have a problem speaking out of both sides of his mouth. He's very good at it or very bad at it, depending on your perspective. But that's what he does. I have a hard time doing that. I like to be more consistent. And not to say that the president isn't principled, but that's the word I'm going to use. I like to be more principled in what I say. If I'm going to change my mind, it's because there was a lot of deep thought in it. I don't just spew things at random. There's a lot of thought in what I say when I speak. At least I try to do my best in that. The president, on the other hand, you know how he can be. But thanks for joining me today, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot to talk about as we continue this Trump derangement syndrome. What's going on with a stronger or weaker dollar. I'll definitely keep you posted because it's interesting stuff. So thanks again for joining me. It's been a pleasure having you. Please like, share, subscribe, get the word out, leave your comments. I would love to hear from you. This is the Capitol News. I am Alex Karitis. Godspeed.